The stars above New Vega shimmered in silence. Commander John Carter stood in the tall control tower, hands behind his back, eyes scanning the sky. New Vega, the last great city on Earth, lay far below, surrounded by icy mountains and the ruins of the old world. After the AI wars, this city had become a symbol of survival. Now it was the heart of Earth's defenses. Inside the control tower, screens glowed softly. Technicians worked quietly at their stations. A calm night, too calm. John felt it in his gut. That old feeling from his time on the front lines, a cold twist in the stomach before things went wrong. Suddenly, one of the technicians shouted, "Sir, we've lost contact with Orbital Station 9. John turned. Define lost contact. The tech's hands flew over the keys. No signal, no comms, no life signs. It just vanished. Before John could respond, a red warning flashed across every screen. Unregistered transmission, incoming. Put it on main screen, John said. The image that appeared was not human. A tall figure stood in the shadows. Pale silver skin, long arms, eyes glowing with cold blue light. Its voice was smooth and calm, but full of mockery. "Humans, we've watched you crawl from your ruins. Weak, simple, yet you still try to stand." John narrowed his eyes. "We are the Tharn Dominion. What you saw above is a warning, a show of power, a gift." The figure smiled. "Now we come to see if you're worth the trouble of crushing." The screen went dark. No one spoke. The tower was quiet, filled only with the faint hum of machines. John slowly walked toward the main display, eyes fixed on the dark screen. The calm in his voice didn't match the fire in his chest. "You bombed us," he said softly. Then louder, for everyone to hear. "Adorable." He turned to his team. "Bring up the satellite grid. I want to see what's still standing in orbit." An officer replied. "Stations 10 through 12 are still active. 13 is reporting strange signals." John nodded. "Lock it all down. Send recon drones, and put every defense system on standby." Another tech said, "Sir, if they're as advanced as they seem, we're not ready. We don't have the firepower." "We don't need more firepower," John said. "We need to be smarter. They think we're weak. Let's use that." He moved to a console and activated Protocol Iron Shield, a defense program not used in years. Alarms lit up across the city. Defense teams scrambled. Pilots ran to hangars. Engineers powered up old systems that hadn't seen daylight in decades. John looked through the glass at the night sky. Somewhere out there the Tharn were watching. "Let them watch," he said under his breath. "We're not done yet." He turned to his officers. "From this moment Earth is at war, and we will not lose." Snow fell gently outside New Vega's defense tower. The white flakes covered the shattered remains of old satellites and drones scattered across the frozen ground. Inside, John Carter stood in the war room, staring at a large screen showing Earth's orbit. Red dots marked missing stations. Blue ones flickered, barely holding on. He had seen war before, but this felt different. John tapped the screen and zoomed in on the blast site of Orbital Station 9. The wreckage spread like dust, scattered across space. There were no survivors. 3,000 lives, gone in seconds. He clenched his fist but kept his voice calm. "Status report." Major Sarah Lynn, his second-in-command, stepped forward. "We've confirmed 5 total strikes across the orbital grid. Only 3 defense stations are fully functional. Most of our satellites are either jammed or destroyed. We're blind in half the sky." John nodded. "Start launching recon drones. I want eyes up there. We don't wait for the next strike." Sarah hesitated. "Sir, permission to speak freely." "Always." She looked him in the eye. "People are scared. Civilians are evacuating underground shelters. Some of our own leaders are calling for surrender." John looked around the room. Officers, soldiers, engineers, all listening. "I understand the fear," he said. "But this enemy isn't like anything we've fought before. They don't want a deal. They want us broken, crushed, forgotten. He paused, then spoke louder. We either fight now or we die slowly. There is no middle. The room fell silent. Suddenly the lights dimmed. Another incoming message lit up the screen. This time it wasn't video. It was audio only. A voice calm, mocking. Commander John Carter, it said. We see your little city. Your small weapons. We laugh. This is not a war. It's a test. A performance, and your role is to lose. The message ended. John's jaw tightened. They think this is a game. He turned and walked to the central table. A holographic map of New Vega, and Earth's orbit hovered above it. We'll give them a performance, he said. But not the one they expect. Later that night, John walked alone through the Hall of Silence, a long corridor in the New Vega Memorial. Walls lined with names of those lost in the AI wars. Names of families, friends. His own brother's name, etched near the center. He stood in front of it for a long time. Back then, the machines tried to wipe out humanity. And they nearly succeeded. But Earth didn't break. It adapted. It learned. It survived. That's what humans did best. His earpiece buzzed. Sarah's voice came through. Sir, the council is waiting. On my way, in the city's underground council chamber. The emergency council sat around a long metal table. Tired faces. Angry voices. We don't have the ships. One man yelled. We don't have the tech. The Tharn could wipe us out tomorrow. John stood at the end of the table. Then we make sure they don't. And how do you suggest we do that, Commander? Another councilman asked. With what? Hope? No, John said. With strategy. He stepped forward and activated a small device. A 3D map of the Tharn fleet lit up above the table, based on the little intel Earth had gathered so far. They think we're weak. Let's prove them wrong. We use their arrogance against them. We fight smart. Hit fast. Make them second-guess everything. We don't need better weapons. We just need to make them believe we have them. The room was quiet. We're Earth, John said, voice steady. We've come back from worse. A slow nod from Counselor Marin, the oldest among them. Then let the fight begin. That night, John returned to the tower. He stood by the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Tharn were watching, laughing. Let them. They'd laugh until they choked on it. The sky above Earth was no longer quiet. Dozens of recon drones flew silently through orbit, feeding data back to New Vega's war room. Commander John Carter stood in front of the main screen, watching every update. Dots moved across the map. Tharn scout ships circling Earth like vultures. They're testing our defenses, said Major Saralyn, flying close, watching, waiting. John nodded. Good. Let them think we're not ready. He turned to the room. Begin Phase 1. Down in the old hangars. Teams of engineers and techs worked around the clock. Sparks flew as they rewired ancient defense satellites, patched up rusting drone fighters, and rebooted forgotten programs from a war long past. Everything was outdated. But John knew tech wasn't the key. It was the trap. They fitted a damaged communications satellite with an explosive core. From space it looked harmless. Just another dead hunk of metal floating in orbit. But inside it was loaded with a high-energy plasma bomb and a cloaked signal transmitter. We're calling it Ghost Fang, said a young engineer. It'll broadcast false distress calls. When they come in to investigate, boom. John smiled. Perfect. The bait was set. Now they waited. Hours passed. Then the alert came. Tharn scout ship approaching Ghost Fang. One vessel. Slow approach. John stood behind the control panel. His hand hovered over the trigger. Wait until it scans, he said. Let them feel safe. The room was silent. Tense. The screen blinked. Tharn vessel scanning target. John pressed the button. From orbit there was no flash. Just a sudden burst of light as the bomb exploded directly into the scout ship's core. The vessel spun, broke apart, and vanished into dust. The war room erupted in cheers. One down, Sarah said. 100 to go. John didn't smile. This wasn't the real battle. That was just to get their attention. Far above Earth, on a sleek black Tharn command ship, Commandant Cyrix watched the destruction on his screen. His long fingers tapped a glowing console. "A trap," he said softly. "Clever." He turned to his advisors. "This human, Carter, he has teeth." The others looked uneasy. Cyrix only smiled. "Let him play. It makes the hunt more entertaining." Back on Earth, John reviewed the next plan. "This will make them nervous," he said. "Now we hit again. Harder." His team launched a second trap, this time using a disabled mining rig floating in the upper atmosphere. It looked like salvage, but it carried an EMP blast strong enough to shut down 3 ships if triggered at the right moment. The Tharn fell for it again. Another scout team destroyed. The victories were small, but they mattered. John knew what he was doing. He was rewriting the rules of the war. That night Sarah joined him in the tower. "They're starting to respond slower," she said. "Changing patrol routes, staying farther from our bait." "Good," John replied. "That means they're thinking. And if they're thinking, they're not sure." She looked at him. "How long can we keep this up?" "As long as it takes." In the darkness above, Cyrix watched Earth's strange, reckless defense. He leaned forward, eyes sharp. "They fight like cornered animals," he said. Another officer stepped forward. "Shall we deploy more ships?" Cyrix raised a hand. "No. We watch. We learn. Then we end them all at once." He stared at John Carter's image on the screen. Soon, back on Earth, John stared at the stars from the tower window. The first moves had been made. The game was on. The war room lights glowed low as storm clouds rolled over New Vega. Thunder cracked in the sky, shaking the tower's windows. It felt like a warning. But John Carter didn't believe in omens. He believed in actions. "Report," he said, stepping into the room. Major Sarah Lynn looked up from the central console. "Tharn movement has changed. They're flying in tighter formations, moving faster, avoiding our traps." "They're adapting," John said quietly. "We knew this would happen." He walked to the map table. The 3D grid showed Earth's orbit before the Tharn had spread out. Now, they were forming clusters, watching each other's backs. Smart, but not smart enough. John leaned over the map and tapped several locations. "We changed the pattern." Later that day, Earth's defense teams moved into Phase 2. They launched decoy ships, small drones designed to look like fighters but carry no weapons. These ships flew solo, fast and careless, darting close to Tharn territory. From a distance, they looked like real attacks. The Tharn chased them. Each time they wasted fuel and energy, striking at shadows. Meanwhile, John set up a new trap, a cloaked satellite that could hijack Tharn signals. When triggered, it sent out false commands, confusing enemy formations. It worked. 2 Tharn ships collided in orbit. A third turned back suddenly, crashing into debris. Laughter filled the war room. "They don't know what's real anymore," Sarah said, shaking her head. "You're playing with their heads." John stayed serious. "We're buying time. We can't beat them, ship to ship. We beat them up here." He tapped his temple, "before they reach the ground." But not everything went right. During the setup of a stealth minefield near Earth's equator, a team of engineers was spotted by a Tharn patrol. One of the workers, Lieutenant Milo Kale, stayed behind to detonate the charge manually. His sacrifice destroyed the Tharn patrol and saved the mission. Back at New Vega, John stood in silence as Milo's name was added to the memorial wall. Sarah stood beside him. "He knew the risk," she said. "They all do," John replied. "Doesn't make it easier." That night, another message came through. A live transmission. Cyrix appeared on screen, calm and cold. Behind him, stars moved slowly across a vast window. "John Carter," he said, almost amused. "You continue to surprise me." John stepped forward. "And you continue to underestimate us." Cyrix smiled. "We find your tricks entertaining. But make no mistake, this ends soon. We are not machines. We are not slow. And we are not kind." "I'm not asking for kindness," John said. I'm asking you to leave while you still can. Syrinx tilted his head. You mistake strategy for strength, but I've seen your limits. John leaned forward. You haven't seen anything yet. The screen went black. After the transmission, John sat alone in his office. He looked at a small photo on his desk. His brother, taken before the AI wars. A memory from a lifetime ago. Back then, they had believed the worst was behind them. Now he was fighting to stop Earth from being wiped out again. A soft knock at the door. Sarah entered. Scanners just picked up a large fleet, forming at the edge of our orbit. Bigger than anything we've seen. John stood. So the real fight begins. He walked to the window, watching lightning flash across the sky. We've made our move, he said. Now it's their turn. The Tharn fleet arrived like a wall of darkness across the sky. Dozens of sleek black ships emerged from the far side of Earth's orbit. Their engines burned cold, blue as they moved into position. From the control tower in New Vega, the screen glowed red with warnings. Enemy fleet approaching fast, Major Sarah Lynn reported. Multiple Dreadnought-class vessels. Estimated time to surface strike 3 hours. Commander John Carter stood tall, eyes locked on the screen. This is it. He turned to his team. Begin Phase 3. Everyone, move. All over New Vega. Alarms blared. Civilians were rushed into underground shelters. Defense crews loaded missiles, powered up railguns and deployed the last wave of drones. Old weapons, rebuilt and barely holding together, but they would have to be enough. John's plan wasn't to win with force. It was to confuse, to mislead, and then to strike at the heart. In orbit, the Tharn ships moved with eerie silence. Their patterns were tight, controlled, perfect. But that perfection was about to work against them. John had hidden dozens of cloaked mines in key orbital paths, using the debris from old Earth satellites to cover their signals. As the Tharn advanced, the first mine detonated. Boom! A Tharn scout ship exploded, sending shockwaves through its nearby formation. 2 more detonations followed. 1 Tharn ship was damaged. Another broke formation and fell back. Inside the command tower, John didn't flinch. They won't panic yet, he said. But they're off balance. Back on the Tharn command vessel, Commandant Syrinx frowned. He watched as his fleet adjusted. He didn't like surprises. He never had. This human, Carter, he said slowly, is more dangerous than expected. His second-in-command asked, shall we retreat and regroup? Syrinx narrowed his eyes. No, we end it now. He activated a new protocol. 5 of the largest Tharn ships moved into direct attack formation, preparing to fire on Earth's surface. Back in New Vega, a loud alert filled the war room. Sir, Sarah shouted. They're powering weapons. These are no longer scans. This is a surface strike. John didn't wait. Execute blackout protocol. All of Earth's defense satellites went dark. The Tharn sensors, now overloaded and misled by John's earlier code hacks, couldn't lock on. Without targeting systems, their weapons paused. Just for a moment, but it was enough. John triggered Earth's final move. 3 old solar reflectors, placed in orbit years ago for energy use, had been modified. They now focused heat beams directly at one of the lead Tharn dreadnoughts. The enemy ship lit up from the inside and exploded. 1 down, the others hesitated. Only for a second. But in battle, a second is everything. John ordered the drone fleet to strike. Dozens of small, fast, unpredictable drones swarmed the damaged Tharn line. They weren't powerful, but they were everywhere. The Tharn fleet scattered. Syrinx watched the chaos unfold. His perfect attack had turned into a mess. He opened a direct channel. John answered. Their faces filled each other's screens. This was clever, Syrinx admitted. Very clever. You came here to conquer, John said. We came here to survive. Syrinx's expression darkened. This is not over. John looked calm. No, it's not. But this round is. He ended the call. The battle lasted 2 more hours. By the end, 3 Tharn ships were destroyed. Several were badly damaged. The rest pulled back into deep orbit. Earth's defense was still standing, just barely. In New Vega, cheers rang through the tower. People hugged, cried, laughed. Sarah smiled. We did it. John didn't celebrate. He walked to the observation window, staring at the sky. They'll be back, he said. Sworn. Next time they'll be smarter. But so will we, Sarah replied. John nodded slowly. That's the game now. Shadows and strategy. He looked at the stars. And I plan to win. The battle was over. The skies above Earth had cleared. Smoke trails from falling debris faded into the upper atmosphere. The Tharn fleet had vanished beyond the dark side of the planet, leaving silence in its place. In the control tower of New Vega, the lights glowed softly. Screens blinked with calm blue signals. For the first time in days, there were no red alerts, no enemy warnings, no countdowns. Commander John Carter stood at the window, looking out over the city. Snow still covered the ground, but now it glittered under a rising sun. A quiet peace had settled across the Arctic. Behind him, Major Sarah Lynn approached. Her voice was soft. Final casualty report is in. We lost 2 stations, 167 confirmed dead, dozens more injured. John nodded. His face was tired but calm. We stopped an invasion, he said. But we paid the price. Sarah stepped closer. The Tharn are gone. For now. Do you think they'll return? John didn't answer right away. He stared at the sky, where the stars still shone faintly in the morning light. They will, he said at last. But we'll be ready. Later that day, John walked through the city. New Vega was damaged. Some towers had cracks in their walls. Some streets were still blocked with rubble. But people had come out of the shelters. Children played in the snow. Volunteers cleared debris. Soldiers helped rebuild. Hope had survived. John stopped at the memorial wall, where a new panel had been added. Milo Calith, engineer, hero. John stood in silence for a moment. He didn't speak. He just placed his hand on the name, closed his eyes, and gave a small nod. Behind him, a little boy walked up, holding a piece of paper. Are you Commander Carter? The boy asked. John turned. Yes. The boy smiled and handed him the paper. It was a drawing, a simple one. A man standing tall under a bright sky, surrounded by stars. At the bottom, written in shaky letters, "Thank you for saving us." John looked at it for a long time. "Thank you," he said quietly. Back in the tower that night, the stars returned. John and Sarah stood in the control room once more, reviewing the new defense grid. Earth had learned. New protocols were in place. The old tech had been improved. More satellites had been launched. Drones now patrolled the skies every hour. "We've come a long way," Sarah said. John nodded. "And we've got a long way to go." Suddenly, a soft beep came from the main console. "Unknown signal detected," said one of the technicians. "Not Tharn, not human. Different frequency, far beyond current sensor range." Everyone froze. John walked over and looked at the signal. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. It wasn't a message. Not yet. But it was something. "Another visitor?" Sarah asked. John didn't take his eyes off the screen. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe something worse." Sarah frowned. "What do we do?" John looked out the window one more time. "We watch. We prepare. And when the time comes." He turned toward her, voice steady. "We fight smart." He held the boy's drawing in one hand. And for the first time in a long time he smiled.